Hello and welcome to our weekly mindfulness meditation with Grant Wardlow, who is one of the therapists at River's Edge Counseling Center. Grant sees teens and adults and couples for counseling services by video and soon in person with some clients as well as we move towards stage one of, our new way of being in the world, in Alberta. We have, I believe, another 5 or 6 weeks scheduled for the meditation with Grant. And we also have another half a dozen or so Wellness Matters webinars on our schedule. So you are invited to join us for any of those. Grant's meditation and talk with us today will be about 30 or 40 minutes, and then we will have some time for some discussion. So at any point, if you'd like to add something to the chat or the Q&A, I'm going to keep my eye on it. We have really enjoyed the input and feedback that we've gotten from this group especially. And it's really informed what Grant plans for us each week, and we've had some nice conversation between the sessions and during as well. At the end, you'll have an opportunity, if you like, to turn your video on and ask a question, or I can just read the question from the chat. So with that, Grant, I am going to turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for spending part of your day with us today. As I have done in the past couple weeks, I would like to begin with reporting on some of my weekly glad moments. I'm really finding this a really great practice right now, especially with all of the uncertainty. I know that we're moving towards sort of a reopening of the province, and that things are looking up in some way, but there's still a lot of trepidation. There's still a lot of uncertainty, anxiety. Certainly a lot of unknown, and I'm really finding this to be a helpful practice not just for me, but I'm hearing really good things from other people who are putting it into practice, just as a way of reminding ourselves that in the midst of all of this, there are still these wonderful moments that we can really pay attention to. So my weekly gratitude, this one was kind of easy. It comes from Sunday. It was Mother's Day. So grateful for my mom, really an amazing woman. I'm so grateful for all the love that she gives me, for the humor that we share. I'm so grateful to have her in my corner. So thank you, Mom. Love you. My learning this week was actually relearning. And what it was that the relearning was that I recognized the impact that my practice of meditation has on my life. You might recall in week 1, I indicated that you're not likely to notice the benefits of meditation while you're actually sitting in meditation. Sure, you might experience a feeling of calmness or a deeper feeling of peacefulness, but you aren't going to notice those deeper changes until you have a new experience in life where you respond to that experience in a new way. Well, on Friday, I had an experience in which I learned, yet again, how meditation has changed my life. So many years ago, I was playing in a golf tournament, and I had arrived at the course to register, and I learned during the registration process that a local television crew was going to be there on site covering the tournament. Well, I was already nervous upon arrival. So I'm already probably at a maybe 3 or a 4. Well, learning this news kicked my activation up to probably about a 6. Okay. Now, excuse me. I was nervous, and what was really making me nervous is that I was really nervous to have my golf skills, okay, somehow end up in some sportscast. I was afraid of making a fool out of myself, of looking like a bad golfer. I had all these catastrophic thoughts going on in my mind. My group is called to the first tee, and wouldn't you know it, just as we are arriving, sure enough, the camera crew shows up. And who should be the first to tee off? It was me. I was probably feeling like my anxiety was at about an 8. Okay, I was shaking so much, even as I put my ball and tee into the ground. Step up to my ball, trembling, every part of me. Thankfully, my club head made contact with the ball. My ball ended up right-hand side of the fairway. I did not make a fool out of myself, but I was very aware of how activated I was. And it actually took me probably another hole and a half before my nervous system at that time calmed down again. Fast forward to Friday when I'm playing golf. Arrive at the course, go to pay, and I can see a camera crew there. And my first instinct was that this camera crew was just there shooting a video for their website or something like that. It wasn't until I got closer that I realized that it was actually CTV News. Well, this crew followed my group to the first tee box. Now, while they didn't film us there, they asked, hey, is it okay if we come out and join you on the course? So we get to the third tee box, and there the crew is waiting for us. And who should be up? Me. And what was so fascinating for me was how different my experience was. I didn't have any catastrophic thinking. I wasn't activated in any way. There was no fear. There was no tension. I wasn't shaking in any way. I stepped up to the ball, hit a good shot. It was such a different experience from all of those years before. And it was really great relearning for the many ways that meditation benefits me. Now, my accomplishment for the week comes from Sunday. And after having this pile of clothing that needed ironing sit there for weeks, I finally got it done. That was a real relief for me. So that was my accomplishment for the week. My sense of delight came, yes, you guessed it, on Friday when I was golfing. What a joy it was for me to be on the course. It was cold and wet. Thankfully, I had made the decision to wear my long johns, but it didn't matter. And what was interesting was that everyone that I have spoken to who saw on the news the broadcast noted how happy I looked. And that was really interesting to me because I was indeed very, very happy to be out there golfing. So I want to talk now about the science of well-being, which is the course that is being taught online by Dr. Laurie Santos. And I completed week 2 on Sunday. And this week's theme was savoring as a means of boosting happiness. And in a way, this is what I'm hoping for when I encourage you to feel into your experience, into your glad experiences rather, right? To not just have it be a cognitive exercise at the end of the day to recognize, oh yeah, that event made me smile, or I'm grateful for this, right? But to really feel into the moment, feel into the gratitude, feel into the moments of delight, really savor those, sit in it, let it linger, right? Really feel it. I was really pleased to see today, actually, so the COVID-19 hope text messages that I've been receiving. Today's was, make sure each day involves some pleasure, right? And I think that's really important. And Dr. Santos talks about ways that we can enhance this, okay? How can we enhance savoring? Well, we can talk to another person about how it made us feel, right? We can share it. We can also look for other people to share our experiences with. We amplify the experience when we do it with other people, okay? We can also think about how lucky we are to be having the experiences that we're having. Remember to feel it too. Don't just think it. If you're by yourself, okay, even imagining sharing the experience, okay, can bring about the experience of savoring. And also, Dr. Santos talks about showing physical expressions of energy in relation to the event, okay? So laugh out loud, giggle, smile, okay? Really let yourself embody the experience. It was also interesting, she did this whole section on things that we think make us happy, but that actually don't. So the things that she covered were having a good job, money, stuff, acquiring stuff, true love, and lastly, having that perfect body. And it was interesting because what the research shows us with respect to all of these things is that actually none of these things bring us as much happiness and a deeper sense of well-being that we think that they will. With respect to money, it was interesting that what the research shows us is that in poor countries, okay, having more money does bring about an experience of happiness, a deeper experience of well-being. Because in poor countries, having more money allows you access to cleaner water, better healthcare, medicine, housing, food, etc. When we look at what the research says in wealthy countries, such as in Canada, what we see is that once our basic needs are met, money doesn't really increase our life satisfaction in the way that we believe that it will. I found it interesting with respect to her category of stuff. I'm sure all of us at some point have said, if only I had blank, I would be so much happier. Well, what the research shows us is that not only does stuff not make us happier, okay, the more we think about stuff and the more we strive to get stuff, it actually makes us worse off. The same holds true. True love doesn't bring us as much happiness as we believe that it's going to be, and neither does having that perfect body. And so all of this to say, what she calls the annoying feature of the mind, number one, is that our mind's strongest intuitions are often totally wrong, right? We think that a good job, more money, more stuff, a great relationship, and a better body will make us happy, but it actually doesn't. Stay tuned next week for a report on whatever I learn this coming week. I thought that today I would take the opportunity to talk about my own journey with respect to what led me to meditation, and to discuss some of the ways that I feel meditation has benefited me. So I want to speak from my own experience. So when I was 35, I took a managerial job with a nonprofit organization. About 6 months into the job, the man that I reported to started to bully me. He threatened my job, he demeaned my character, he degraded my work. And in response to this, my body slowly started to shut down. Over time, the bullying took its toll, and eventually I fell into a deep depression that was coupled with quite extreme anxiety. This lasted for several months until one day I just stopped going to work altogether. I couldn't bring myself to get out of bed and face being in that person's company anymore. I felt paralyzed, couldn't face the world. In response to this man's bullying, my nervous system got really activated, right? I was in fight, flight, and freeze. And I kind of got stuck in that state of hyperarousal, until eventually I moved into a state of hypoarousal and fell into that state of collapse, that defeat, right? That place of depression. Now, as a result of all this, I started suffering from nightmares, panic attacks. I had suicide ideation. I woke every day hoping that it would be my last. However, it was from this place of pain and suffering that my wellness journey took flight. I was very fortunate in that I had great friends. And what made them great is that none of them told me to get over it. None of them told me to suck it up. Instead, they met me where I was at, and they continued to love me and care for me despite my struggle. My doctor set me up with a gifted therapist who helped me heal the wounds from my past. To help manage my depression and anxiety, at the suggestion of my doctor, I started practicing yoga. And at the time, what I deeply yearned for more than anything else was just a sense of peace within myself. Peace of mind, peace of body, peace of spirit. For those who were online last week, you will recall me recounting the tale of how activated I became in relation to a particular yoga instructor. Well, it just so happens that the yoga instructor I spoke of ended up being one of the most influential people in my life. His name is Will Blunderfield. So as life would have it, there I was waiting outside the studio door, listening to Will sing to his class one day. I was hating every second of it. Then the door opened and everyone cheers and tells Will how wonderful he is and how much they all love him. Me, I despised him. I make my way past the masses, set my mat up, do a bit of light stretching before lying down in Shavasana, and then it happens. Hi everyone, great news. I'm gonna be subbing for Karen today. Can you believe it? It's gonna be awesome. In an instant, my body freezes up. It's my worst nightmare. Will is teaching this class. I'm totally activated. I'm in a state of fight or flight. Every cell in my body is screaming at me, telling me to get the heck out of there. Flee, run, get out while you still can. But instead, I freeze. Why? Because I couldn't reconcile within myself walking out of the fear that I might actually hurt Will's feelings. I didn't want him to think that he was the reason I was leaving. So I stayed. Anyway, during the class, while we were doing various poses, Will preached about being enough and self-compassion and the importance of loving ourselves and self-acceptance and believing in our own sense of self-worth. I can't say for certain what words resonated, but his words inspired me enough to give myself permission in that class to just be enough. It was such a profound experience that at the end of it, I signed up for a 90-minute music and yoga class that Will happen to be hosting that Saturday night. And wouldn't you know it, the same thing happened. During the class, I softened into this state of being where during the class, I allow myself to be enough. It didn't matter if I was as flexible as anyone else in the class, or if I could hold a certain pose for as long as anyone else. Whatever I could do in that class was enough. After the class finished, I found myself in the men's locker room, reflecting on my life in relation to the experience that I had just had. And I recognized that for a long time, my heart had been full of self-hatred, of sadness, of fear, of shame. And in that recognition, I was overcome with emotion, and I just sat there and wept. And at the end of it all, I made a vow to myself to start on a journey of learning to love myself. I didn't know what that looked like, but I made it a priority in my life. And with time and patience, self-compassion, meditation, my own therapy, and lots of love, I eventually found the peace that I was seeking. Finding a sense of inner peace would not have been possible without practicing mindfulness, and in particular, meditation and self-compassion. These two practices really changed my life. For years, I had pushed my fear, my sadness, my anger, and my shame away. I didn't want to feel it. I didn't want to deal with it. But this all started to change when I sat down for the first time and I began to pay attention to my breath. For me, meditation created periods of stillness, created a time for introspection. I created the space necessary for me to digest and process all of the pain and suffering that I had carried for so many years. I had so much anger and self-hatred inside of me from which I was constantly running and trying to avoid. I spent so much of my life trying to be someone other than me. However, sitting in meditation transformed the way I related to myself. And as a consequence, it also transformed the way I related to the world. I believe in some spiritual way that I was actually called to meditation. It was as if my body knew what it needed, and I just had to trust in its wisdom. The first time I meditated, I was actually on holiday in Palm Springs, California. I had golfed that morning. After lunch, I was sitting reading by the pool, and I had this very strong sense within me, something nudging me to begin, to go sit and breathe, to look inside. That feeling wasn't new. I'd felt it before. However, on that day, what changed was that I gave myself permission. I stopped running from myself. Now, in the beginning, I just practiced breathing. When my mind would wander, I would come back to my breath without judgment. Then after a while, my nervous system calmed down enough so that I could slowly start to feel into my body, into my emotional being, without feeling like it was going to overwhelm me. Some days, all I could do was just dip my toes into my pain, and that was enough. Over time, I was able to manage it for longer periods. Over time, as I befriended that fractured, wounded part of myself, I slowly began a transformation happening within me. Sitting in silence and creating the space necessary to be with and feel my pain meant that the energy of that pain could move through me and I could let it go. Instead of trying to bury it, to not feel it, I learned that when I gave myself the opportunity to feel it in a mindful state, it actually eased the burden of my suffering. For years, I expended an immense amount of energy avoiding my feelings of woundedness. In meditation, I learned to be with them in a new way. I was thrilled on Monday, again, the COVID-19 hope text that I've been receiving. On Monday, the notification was, notice when you're feeling sad, angry, lost, or overwhelmed about life. Don't push the feelings away. Acknowledge these feelings and let yourself grieve. And essentially, this is the process that I was doing when I would give myself that time and space to sit and meditate. Now, I don't want to minimize the impact that my therapy had on this whole process. During this time, I was also engaging in my own therapeutic journey. For me, meditation complemented the process because I was able to take what I was working through in my therapy sessions and deepen the experience in my meditation. as I cleared away the old fear, anger, sadness, and shame from within me, what began to emerge was something completely unexpected. Processing my old wounds meant I could begin to feel into my authentic self. And what I discovered was that I actually wasn't the person the world told me I was, nor was I the person I believed myself to be. Once I got rid of that old baggage, and for me, the image of that old baggage was like this impenetrable dark mass that surrounded my heart. Once I cleared it away, I could begin to feel into my own goodness. I could begin to feel into the knowing that I am worthy, that I am enough. There was a shift away from self-loathing towards self-love. I could feel into the knowing that I was kind, loving, caring, nurturing, compassionate, thoughtful. And it was this knowing that created the space for that sense of inner peace. Now, am I all of these things all of the time? No. Sometimes I get angry. Sometimes I'm impatient. Sometimes I'm sad. I'm not always compassionate. Sometimes I'm selfish. Sometimes I even say mean things. But these are the exceptions, not the rules. And I've come to learn that I'm not defined by these exceptions. Rather, I'm defined by the rules. I used to be defined by the way that the world taught me that I was. I used to be defined by what I believed of myself from my place of woundedness. Through therapy, meditation, self-compassion, I've come to love myself. And no one can take that away from me. I'd like to move now into our meditation. This meditation is what Jon Kabat-Zinn calls Breathscape and Bodyscape. It is this type of meditation that I did a lot of during my process work. And it's this kind of meditation that really helped me to learn to be able to be with my sadness, be with my pain, be with my anger, so that I could process it in a way and let it go, creating that space for me to be able to feel into my own sense of goodness, really changing the way that I related to myself, away from relating to myself from my own woundedness, and into relating to myself from a place of love and peace. So to begin, finding a comfortable position wherever this finds you, lying down if that serves you today. If not, sitting with a distinguished posture, imagining your pelvis is just floating without effort. Feeling relaxed, yet alert. Gently closing your eyes or shifting your gaze downwards if that feels right for you. Letting yourself land in the present moment. Letting go of the busyness of the day and all that you had to do in order to be here right now in this moment. Letting go of thinking about or worrying about what is next on your list of things to do today. giving yourself permission to be fully present in each passing moment. Fully inhabiting your lived experience through present moment awareness. Slowing down. Letting go of doing and beginning to soften into the experience of being. Allowing your attention to drop gently into your breath as it moves in and out of your body. Breathing in, breathing out. Riding the peaceful waves of your breath. Noticing where you experience your breath to be most alive. Hanging out in the present moment with every inhale and every exhale. Resting in awareness from moment to moment, breath to breath. Letting go of any agenda other than to be awake, to be fully alive right here, right now, with each passing breath. Softening into the experience of every inhalation and every exhalation. Recognizing whenever your mind wanders, thanking your mind for thinking what it was thinking, and gently bringing your awareness back to your breath without judgment. Resting in each passing moment. Giving full care and attention to the breath coming in the body, and full care and attention to the breath as it leaves the body, moment by moment by moment. Letting there be as little doing as possible. Letting go of any agenda, and instead just breathing moment to moment, resting in awareness itself. Having an awareness of this breath, being conscious of this breath. Inviting your field of awareness to expand to include your body. Sensing the body as a whole. Giving your full attention to that rich inner world that is just you. Being in touch with whatever arises from within your body. Noticing whatever sensations are there for you in this moment. Noticing what parts of your body are wanting your attention. Feeling the full universe of sensations. If it's tension, be present with your tension. If it's tingling, be present with your tingling. If it's light and airy, be present with your experience of being light and airy. Allowing whatever is present to be there without judgment. Giving full care and attention to what you are experiencing in your body in the present moment. Deepening your awareness by feeling into the emotional quality of whatever sensations might be there for you. Noticing what you're feeling. Worry, sadness, anger, contentment, grief, fear, joy, shame, regret, calmness. Allowing whatever feelings are present to be there without judgment. Recognizing that whatever you are feeling is part of the human experience. Creating space to be present with your experience, moment to moment to moment. Naming what you are feeling, if that is what serves you, if it feels right for you. This is worry, or this is grief, or this is joy. Resisting the temptation to bury or push away the feelings if they are uncomfortable. Knowing, however, if whatever you are experiencing is too much, bring your awareness back to your breath until such a time that you feel it is once again okay to gently feel into your body. If whatever you are experiencing is pleasurable, deepening your experience by savoring each moment of delight. Leaning into the pleasure of your awareness. Feeling the expansiveness that comes with feeling good in this moment. Letting go of the need or desire to feel anything in particular, and instead allowing whatever you are feeling to be there. Allowing the energy of whatever you are feeling to flow through you moment by moment by moment. Softening into the experience of being. Continuing to hold your body in awareness. Letting your body be itself. As we come to the end of our meditation, taking time to give thanks to our body for experiencing your breath, for the sensations that you may have felt, for the feelings you experienced. For these are all signs that you are alive. Let us give thanks for being alive. Taking a few more breaths at your own pace, and when you feel it's right for you, beginning to gently move your body in whatever way feels right for you. Slowly opening your eyes. I hope that was soothing for you. I want to thank you for all being here today. I invite your comments. I invite your questions. And one thing that I would really like to hear about is your experiences with practicing GLAD. I'd love for some people to come on and talk about some moments of delight or some things that they're grateful for, even some learning that they've done or accomplishments that they've been able to do. So please share with us whatever you feel comfortable with. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you so much for sharing your own experiences. That just brings the practice to life for me. I appreciate that. Yeah. For those of you who aren't going to stay with us for the Q&A, and we will be ending the recording, I want to thank you for joining us today. And we hope that we will see you again next week.